יש כאן משהו הרבה יותר גדול. הרבה יותר גדול. הרי מה כל הסיפור העולמי הגדול? חורבן כל הזהויות וכל המהויות. המאבק הזה נגד מציאות האל בעולם, באמצעות טשטוש כל הזהויות, כולל הזהות הלאומית, המינית, המשפחתית, האנושית. אם אתה אוכל סטייק, אתה רוצח. אין אלוהים, ולכן כל אחד יכול להמציא את הזהות שלו, ולכן מי שחזק הוא זה שיקבע. ובמסגרת אובדן הזהות הלאומית, אוקיי? מדינות מעבירות קטעים לאט לאט יותר ויותר חלקים מן הריבונות שלהם לגורמים בינלאומיים שלא אתה ולא אני יכולים לבחור בהם. הרי את החירות שלנו אנחנו משיגים דרך הלאומיות שלנו והיכולת שלנו לקבוע מי ינהל אותנו כלאום. ברגע שאיבדנו את הזהות הלאומית, נתנו לחברת פייזר לנהל אותנו, חתמנו להם, אתם תנהלו אותנו, נתנו ל-WHO, לארגון הבריאות העולמי, רוצים לעשות את זה גם בחינוך, שהאום יחליט מה תהיה מערכת החינוך שלנו, שהאום יחליט, ועכשיו ישראל, וזו נקודה מאוד חשובה, ישראל עוד מעט תחתום על אמנה שמכינים עכשיו בארגון הבריאות העולמי, כדי שבפעם הבאה שהם ימציאו לנו איזושהי מגיפה, ואני אומר לך ימציאו, כי לא הייתה שום מגיפה.
אנחנו ניישר כאן בכל העולם.
לא, זה כבר לא יוחלט כאן. אם תהיה בסגר, לא תהיה בסגר, תזריק, לא תזריק. חברת פייזר, איך זה יקרה? חברת פייזר, אותן אלה ששיחדו את כל המערכת, היא תיתן הנחיות לארגון הבריאות העולמי, שהוא פאפט שלה, אוקיי? שעכשיו חייבים על פי חוק בכל המדינות, כי הם חתמו על אמנה, להזריק, וזה כבר לא יהיה לשיקולך בכלל.
יפה. טוב, נושא אחר ברשותכם.
Israel would like to reiterate its full support to WHO's effort in leading the processes to strengthen the way countries and the world prepare for, prevent, detect, and respond to health emergencies. We deem it essential that national, regional, and global efforts are coordinated and coherent, providing an effective framework and tools for member states and the global community. We should ensure that the outcomes of our negotiations are feasible and appropriate to achieve their purpose, a safer future for all. We believe that it's states' responsibility to protect their people's health. However, only through a joint global effort will we be able to enhance the world's capacity to face current and future spread of diseases. We consider the WHO to be the principal body in leading these efforts. The COVID-19 pandemic, as well as other outbreaks in recent years, have highlighted the importance of international cooperation. The processes we have started together are beyond ambitious. Israel wants to avoid duplications and ensure that the INB and the IHR working group work synergetically and in coordination. Israel, together with Morocco, also coordinates the consultative process towards the high-level meeting on pandemic prevention, preparedness and response that will take place in New York this September. We believe that this work will complement, fuel, and accelerate our work here in Geneva. We would also like to take the opportunity to call for future streamlining. The success of international mechanism is determined by their efficacy. We note our past experience with COVAX, in which our attempts to offer millions of COVID-19 vaccines were not utilized. We must also maintain an appropriate balance between ensuring adequate provisions of emergency tools and medicines during global health crises, while also protecting the rights of providers and suppliers. With lesson learned, we must ensure that we are strengthening the IHR and providing stronger foundations through the INB to improve preparedness, prevention, and response for future pandemics and health crises. Chair, I would like now to address to some of the active emergencies mentioned in the DG's report A7611, and to start by thanking the World Health Organization and its team on the ground for their vital work conducted under extremely challenging circumstances around the world. These emergencies have affected millions. Given their scale, complexity, and inherent operational challenges, they have required the highest level of organization-wide support. By noting the report today, Member States will ensure the continuation of WHO work in providing emergency support in cases like floods, earthquakes, and conflicts, and support states to build sustainable preparedness for health emergencies and expand their capabilities.
At this point, the WHO has become a trap to entrap the nations such that they lose sovereignty over health and even other matters once one of these public health emergencies is declared.
And if that wasn't chilling enough, this authoritarian power grab that would centralize healthcare, they're talking about One Health now, which puts humans, the environment, and animals all on the same level, where they could therefore declare a...
Yes, exactly. So one of the methods that's being used for the WHO to gain more power is a concept that was rolled out in Davos in 2012 at the World Economic Forum. And this concept states that human health cannot be looked at in isolation, but instead we must consider the health of animals, plants, the environment, water systems, all ecosystems together. So doctors are not allowed to look at your health anymore, but we need ecologists and veterinarians and plant pathologists, etc., to be involved. That doesn't really make any sense. But what it does is it allows, and the WHO and legal documents within the U.S. and in other nations are being adapted to build One Health in, because what it also says is that the health of animals and the health of ecosystems need to be considered equally with the health of humans. Now, do you think the WHO is going to elevate animals to the status of humans? No, it's going to lower humans to the status of animals.
What is the next step?
Yeah, I would like to answer that. You are indeed right. COVID was just, like I said yesterday, a test balloon, and the lessons they learned from this, namely how did they fail and where did they fail to get the people to just do what they were told to, comply, and they will take this to the next level. So we're talking, of course, about digital ID. It's in preparation. We're already talking about this. The Parliament circumvented itself pretty much by taking with a large majority a vote to not even involve Parliament. It goes directly behind closed doors to negotiate the digital ID. The next thing we will be seeing is, of course, CBCD, the digital state currency. That will be the ultimate blow to depriving us of all of our freedom and privacy. And and of course these 15-minute ghettos that I already talked about yesterday. These are the next steps, and once again, I want to make it clear, we're not talking about some future projects 40, 50 years down the line. We are talking about as in right now that they're working on. And once again, we need the people on our side on this to fight this, to raise awareness, and to let their government, especially the national governments, know they will not deal with that, and they will not accept this. That's what we need the people for. Thank you.
Senator Antic.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Deputy President. Australian cities are becoming digital surveillance precincts, with so-called smart city programs being rolled out across the country. Invasive technology such as facial recognition cameras, licence plate readers, smart lights, smart poles, smart cars, smart neighbourhoods, smart homes and smart appliances, all connected to wireless networks and communicating with each other. So what's wrong with that? Technology is good, isn't it? All this is for your safety, security and convenience, isn't it? Well, let me tell you, your streets are spying on you, your mobile phone is spying on you, your cities are spying on you, and the infrastructure for future lockdowns is being put into place right now. Don't be fooled. You're being set up to be tracked through your movements and through the future of your digital wallets. By handing over your data, you're handing over the ability to monitor your behaviour, which will soon be turned into a social credit score. And once the central bank digital currencies are in place, you won't get to spend your money without approval. Digital ID will soon become a reality in Australia. Many other countries are already rolling these systems out, countries like Canada, Scotland and many others. Eventually, you won't be able to access any government or public services, and you won't be able to travel across borders or access healthcare or the internet without a digital ID. Think you won't comply? I think you will. The last 2 years were the dress rehearsal and we fell for it hook, line and sinker. Australians are sleepwalking into this technocratic future, and while we're sitting around scratching our chins trying to work out whether this is really happening, Australia is drifting towards a dystopian digital future.
Plague laws, this is not the first time in history that plague laws have been used to centralize control. Control of transportation, control of labor, control of banking and bank accounts, control of all the different kinds of capital that make up human civilization. But the COVID laws are particularly draconian in the history of plague laws because not only do they control labor, transportation, banking, but now with advances in digital technology, we're looking at complete control through the banking system of 100% of all assets, ultimately. So what happens here? For many, many years, most of us have grown up in a world in the Western democracies where we have a balance of power between the bankers and the people. The central bankers control monetary policy, and the people vote for an electorate that controls fiscal policy. Now what we're watching with COVID laws all around the world is the central bankers moving in and exercising essentially a coup d'etat, where they take control of fiscal policy as well. And again, with the advances in digital technology, vaccine passports will not be about health. Vaccine passports are part of a financial transaction control grid that will absolutely end human liberty in the West. For many years, I have fought and written against central control of the financial system. We've centralized more and more capital, more and more control. And we've done it with tactics called divide and conquer. And we've all experienced many different divide and conquer tactics, men against women, black against white. But now we have a new one called the vaccinated versus the non-vaccinated. Because if you're going to centralize control of every aspect of people's lives and literally strip them of their assets and their property rights, you need a new, more venal divide and conquer. And we can't let that happen because ultimately we're talking about all of our liberties, all of our human rights, all of our property rights. So I would plead with you to look behind. So listen to what's been said today and look behind what these laws are really about and where the vaccine passports lead. The vaccine passports, along with the digital control system, are the end of human liberty in the West. So this is not about democracy versus fascism. This is about freedom versus slavery. Because when you institute a complete digital financial control, you are talking about something much worse than any fascism we have seen yet in our history.
And also, by the way, let's abolish cash. So what should we do? Well, introduce digital cyber currency that central banks issue and control, and thereby gain total control over all economic transactions, decisions, and the whole lot you've just heard from the CEO of the GDI. So the greatest concentration of central banking power in history is really the bid they're aiming at. That's the central bank's goal. And, of course, digital accounts of dissenters and regime critics could be switched off. It would be very difficult to even purchase necessities. So this is an Orwellian dystopia of total control, the end of any freedoms. That's really what central banks are aiming at. Several central banks have, like the Bank of England, already prepared their microchip implant, RFID chip, to be implanted under your skin. And why is there sudden discussion about universal basic income from all the grassroots and inverted commas movements and billionaires? Oh, universal basic income is the bribe for you to accept the microchip. The overarching trend of the 20th century is concentration of power in the hands of the few. That's what we have to keep in mind. We have to work against this. We don't want to have these unaccountable central planners making decisions. We need decentralization, and the solution, therefore, is to maintain public money in the hands of local community banks, decentralize decision-making, give local people the power in the form of local public banks and local not-for-profit community banks. As I walked in,